Today we're going to take a look at how to generate income for retirement, a strategy for cash flow and lifetime income. Now, you may be pre-retirement, you may be 10 or 15 years away from retirement, or you may be in retirement. All this information is going to be good for you. So I want to thank you for joining us here today. Most of us have probably been to some kind of a website or seen some information that you're going to need to save $1 million for retirement, or $5 million, or 800,000. And by the time you see those numbers, it can be pretty discouraging, pretty depressing. Maybe you see something like this that says that you need so much per age. You need to be saving a certain amount by a certain age, or maybe 6 times your salary, and you're thinking, well, how in the world am I going to meet those numbers? So we're going to take a look at a little different approach here today and look at it from the income side. So I want to thank you for watching. My name is Richard with Wisdom Investor. I think what most people are really trying to figure out in pre-retirement or post-retirement is how much money are they going to have coming in to cover their expenses? What's their income going to be like? Can they meet their expenses? So I've got down here the 5 major issues getting into retirement, pre-retirement or post-retirement. One is expenses. That's probably your number one concern is, do I have enough income to cover my expenses? The next thing is inflation, because if you retire at 65 and you live another 20 to 25 years, there's going to be inflation. That's going to eat into your money. Longevity, exactly how long are you going to live? Taxes are something that we don't always think about. And then, of course, we want to have some kind of an emergency fund. The most important number to look at in either in retirement or pre-retirement is your expenses. Now, many times, like we said a minute ago, you'll see the website and says, this is your number you need. You need $1.5 million for retirement. But everybody's situation is different. And what you have to look at is, first thing is your expenses. Now, there's some statistics here from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics on what the average person is spending in retirement. Now, your situation may be different. So this is defined by someone 55 and older spend an average of $49,279 a year, roughly $4,000 a month. Of course, this is going to depend on part of the country you live. Some areas are more expensive than others. The East Coast, West Coast are going to be the most expensive. You get the middle part of the country and the expenses are a lot less. Now, here's the major expenses here: housing, transportation, health care. A lot of times we forget about health care. We want to retire early, but you forget about those health care expenses. Food. Now, back to the housing here. If you have your house paid for, that's about 1/3 of your expense in retirement. At least 25% in most cases. So if you get your house paid for, you are on your way to a much easier retirement, and it's going to take less income. So these are some of the expenses here that have been calculated that it takes by those that are 55 and older. Here's a graphic. I got this from Fidelity.com, Fidelity Investments. And this says retiree spending habits. Where does the money go? Housing. Between the ages of 55 to 64, it's 21%. Between the age of 65 to 74, it's 28% of your income. Healthcare. The younger you are, if you're below 64, 7%. Above 65, it's going to be 10%. Food, it's running in that 10 to 13% range, depending on your age and family size. Transportation could be 10 to 14%. Entertainment could be 3 to 4%. The next area to look at is inflation. And here's an example. It says if over the next 10 years inflation continues to average 2.2%, which has happened over the last 25 years, the purchasing power of $100 would fall by 20%. So if you have expenses of $3,000 per month, inflation is going to cause those expenses to go up. And then if you have an income of, say, $3,000 per month, your buying power is going to be less. So we have to also think about ways to continue to grow our money to keep up with inflation. Longevity here. So here's an example. A 65-year-old man has a 50% chance right now to living to 87 years old. So if at 65, that's going to be 22 years of retirement. A 65-year-old woman has a 50% chance of going 90 years. A 65-year-old couple has a chance of going 94 years. So longevity, our money needs to last for at least 25 to 30 years. So we're going to look at guaranteed income here in a moment and ways that we can get that money to last longer. And we talked about taxes. So you may have an IRA account or 401k. At 70 years old, you're going to need to start withdrawing some of that money. So taxes could be a consideration in retirement. Here's an example. It says withdrawing one account at a time. And in years of retirement, if you're just drawing from one account at a time, let's just say you have a taxable account, you have a traditional IRA here, and then in the blue is a Roth. If you just take from one account at a time, it can cause a tax bubble somewhere down the road. The other example here is withdrawing proportionally, some of it from an IRA, some of it from a taxable account, some of it from a Roth. If you do a little bit from each account, when you have to start taking those withdrawals, the tax impact can be less. Now, we can't get into all specific taxes for individuals here because it's going to be different for each person. The last area to make sure that you're on top of, either in pre or post-retirement, is having an emergency fund. I got an email from a viewer the other day, and he said one of the things people need to be aware of, especially if they own a house, you still got to fix that roof, or maybe you got to paint the house, or you got to do some kind of repairs. So you got to make sure you have some extra money set aside. Okay, so we've looked at the expenses here. The next thing to look at is what kind of guaranteed income or lifetime income do you have? And so basically there's three forms of lifetime income that's guaranteed. One would be Social Security. Social Security guarantees that till you pass away. If you have a pension, annuity, that would be guaranteed income that's coming in. Or some kind of income annuity that you've purchased. You could have that. And there's probably some other forms of guaranteed income where you have something coming in from some kind of a family account that from a loved one. You could have some kind of a trust fund coming in, so that would be lifetime income. So the first thing we're going to look at is Social Security and how we can get the most out of Social Security for our life. Looking at Social Security here, should you claim your Social Security at age 62? Here's an example here, what delaying your Social Security could be worth. So if you take your Social Security in this particular example, this is Colleen at 62, it would be $1,450 in this particular example. Everybody's going to be different. It's going to be based on your work history. If she waited till 66, that'd be $2,000. If she waited till 70, that'd be $2,560. Now, she would need to look at what her Social Security is and compare that to her expenses. If her expenses are $2,000 per month, she may want to wait until 66 so she'll have enough Social Security to cover the basic cost. If she waits longer, then she'll have more Social Security. And as we said, she has the potential to live at least another 15 to 20 years past this age of 70. So we looked at some of the benefits of taking Social Security at a later age, and really what type of a pension you have, or if you have any kind of annuity, is going to be a individual situation. There's less and less of those these days as far as pensions, but any money that you get from that is definitely going to add to that income that you'll have to cover your expenses. So after we take a look at the guaranteed income like Social Security, then you can look at what monies you have saved up or planning to save, and you can also develop additional incomes from those areas. So you may have some type of savings, a money market fund, bond funds, dividends and stocks, real estate income. If you had a rental property and you're bringing in $1,000, $1,500 per month. You have the property sold. That's going to be extra income for you. You may have some investments, a REIT investment in real estate where you're generating revenues. Typically, these money market funds are going to generate at this point right around 2 to 2.5%. Bond funds could be 3 to 6%. Dividends from stocks, just to kind of give you an idea, a person that would have $1 million in stocks that pay dividends could generate about $40,000 per year in income. Say $100,000 in dividend stocks would be about $4,000 extra per year. Again, real estate income, if you have any properties, that could be generating $1,000, $2,000 per month to more, to maybe $10,000 per month. So these are extra ways to look at your own situation so that you can build additional income. You may also have some growth type investments, equity stocks, or a company 401k that you've been participating in, an IRA, Roth IRA. At some point, typically around 70 years old, you're going to want to take some distributions out of this. But this would be an additional area where you can generate income from. So from those equity growth options that we just looked at, here's an example here. Assuming your money grows at 6%, and of course this is only a sample, not exact amount here, but if you had saved, say, $200,000, here's how much you could withdraw annually for 25 years if your money was growing at 6%. So $200,000 would give you an extra $14,000 per year. That's roughly a little over $1,000 per month. So if your Social Security was $1,500 and you had investments, say a couple $100,000, you're going to be able to generate $1,100, $1,200 per month in extra income from your investments to help cover your costs. Again, number one thing is what's our expenses, and then we have to take a look at where our income sources are. If you have $400,000 and you could withdraw that over 25 years, that'd be $31,000 per year that you could withdraw that for. Now, after looking at your expenses and also your guaranteed income and any alternate income that you have from investments, if you're still going to be short, you may have to look at some type of a part-time job or some type of a home equity loan or perhaps a reverse mortgage to generate additional income. If you've been able to put aside a good amount of money for your retirement, along with your Social Security or any kind of a pension, here's an example here of what to kind of figure on the amount to withdraw. Okay, so here, let's just say you had $500,000 and you're going to consider living to 85 to 90 years old. What you want to do in this particular case is look at the withdrawal rate. 4% is in the blue line here. If you withdraw 4%, and this is invested, you have a greater chance of this money lasting into your 85, 90, and beyond. If you start taking out higher amounts, 5%, 6%, you can see the yellow line here, you have less of a chance for that money lasting. Now, at 5%, it's still going to last. Of course, we don't know what emergency expenses are going to be or healthcare costs, things like that. But the larger the number you take, the less that the possibility that that money is going to last over a lifetime. Let's look at a sample budget here. So here's a situation here. You've determined your expenses are $3,000. And again, this is just a situation that I'm pulling out here. Your situation is going to be a little bit different. But you look at your guaranteed income. In this case, this would be $1,500, say, coming from Social Security. Now, maybe you have $2,000 coming in. So you would subtract that $2,000 from your $3,000 expenses. That's going to leave you with $1,000 more income you're going to have to bring in. Maybe your expenses are only $1,000 per month. You got your house paid for. You live in an area that's relatively inexpensive. And if you had a guaranteed income of $1,500, your expenses are, say, $800 to $1,000 per month, then you won't have any problem. So back to this situation, here's $3,000 expenses, have $1,500 guaranteed income. Maybe this person has other income also coming in, maybe from rental units, or maybe they have some investments, maybe they have some bond interest coming in, or maybe they have some dividend income coming in of $1,000. And then they may have some stocks that they take out $500 per month over a period of time. So they would be able to, this particular person in this case would be able to get their $3,000 per month. So our main goal here is to think about what your expenses are going to be and your income, versus getting depressed or letting a big giant number someone throws out at you, like you need $3 million for retirement. That can make it very discouraging. So we've talked about here how to generate income for retirement. We looked at looking at things from an expense standpoint and also your income, versus getting all frustrated over seeing some giant number that someone's throwing out at you, and looking at cash flow and lifetime income. So I want to thank you for watching, and I hope you have a very happy retirement.